just a quick overview on why this conversation with Alex is important in the context of what's happening with Indian fintech. PayPal has been around for over 25 years. It's a profitable venture. It's also a venture that operates across 200 markets, 430 million customers, both on the merchant side as well as active users, and it is the largest two-sided network today. And it has plans for India, of course, not for the domestic payment segment just yet, but they are looking at investing in Indian fintech. So those of you who have an idea, Alex is your man. Perhaps we could have some interesting conversations happen here at GFF. But Alex, without further ado, let's start by talking about PayPal World. Congratulations on launching that. But I believe the origin story for how PayPal World and the UPI connection happened was in Florence when you met Dilip Asbe.
That's correct. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you all, and it is amazing to bring my team along here. They are just an incredible team. So yes, the beginnings of PayPal World, we had some ideas of creating interoperable wallets, right? This is part of our mission to connect the world and ensure that we are creating what the future should be. But Dilip and I were at a conference together in Florence, Italy, of all places. And we were just having a sidebar conversation, and he was telling me about the progress and the incredible expansion that UPI was going through at the time. And I was maybe 4 or 5 months into the job at PayPal. And we just started having the conversation of what would happen if we could make it simple, seamless, frictionless, and easy for our consumers and our merchants to interact together. And we both thought that was a pretty good idea. And that was really the beginning of setting off. Now, let's be transparent. The easy part are two leaders sitting in a room in the middle of Florence, Italy, going, wouldn't it be wonderful if that happened? The hard part is what the team does afterwards, from both teams coming together and working through all the challenges. But here we are on stage today, announcing the partnership, solidifying and launching again in the coming months. So it's very exciting.
Well, certainly very exciting, but let's talk about the aspiration that you have as far as PayPal World is concerned. UPI and NPCI are just one of the partners that you've signed up with. There are a bunch of others that you have signed up with, and I would imagine more on the way. What's the aspiration? What do you hope to do with PayPal World?
So this is the vision of the world that I hope we all want to live in, right? There are domestic wallets that exist anywhere in the world. You can go to countries in almost every part of the world, and there is a domestic wallet or multiple domestic wallets that is where people are interacting. And I fundamentally believe that the future of money is going to be a domestic wallet. And so if you believe that, or a fintech wallet, so if you believe that wallets are going to be the way that people are going to interact, then it makes sense to make them interoperable. But that's just not how it works today. If you take your digital wallet and you travel to the United States, you travel to South America, you travel to China, many of these wallets won't work. And so you're stuck having to create a second digital wallet or move cash, in which case you're paying significant amount of cost, friction, and you're having to juggle, and it's just not a great experience. In addition, if you're a merchant, you're only able to take payments from local currency or from local wallets that you know. It's one of the things that PayPal has actually worked very hard on in the United States and throughout Europe, is making it as seamless as possible for merchants to accept payments from anyone. But it really is only limited to a certain portion of the world. And so if you fast forward, the vision of PayPal World is making a platform that any digital wallet can connect to, so that any consumer in the world can use their home digital wallet, where they have multiple instruments, their banks, if they have credit cards, if they have buy now, pay later, whatever they want together, and be able to travel in person, make an e-commerce transaction, or in the future, an agentic commerce transaction with the wallet they have safe, secure transactions with, but with any merchant in the world. And think about how powerful that is for merchants. Merchants around the world will now have access to billions of consumers billions of consumers. That is a very exciting world.
Now, for the audience sitting here, explain to us, 25 years on, what does transformation look like for PayPal as you transition from being a payment service to becoming a commerce platform? What will that entail? What will change?
Yeah, so it is a real privilege to lead a company that has a 25-year history and really is the original fintech in many ways at PayPal. This week I celebrated my 2-year anniversary at the organization, so I am still...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I made it 2 years. But one of the things that I think a lot about, and one of the reasons that drew me to PayPal, is the transformation in fintech is so fast right now. There's going to be more disruption, I believe, in the next 2, 3, 5 years than in the past 20 years combined.
On account of technology or on account...
Technology, artificial intelligence, consumer demand. I think we're just, in many parts of technology, you're seeing an exponential acceleration in development. I heard before, I think we were having a conversation about how many fintechs there are just in India right now.
Yeah, a couple of thousand at last count.
And so when you have thousands of fintechs in India alone, the amount of innovation is just going to accelerate. So one of the worries that I have being in a 25-year-old company is you can become complacent. We have a system that works. You could just sit back and say, hey, this system works, let's not mess with it. And I think that's a recipe for becoming yesterday's company. And so one of the first things that I did when I came into the seat was really energize the company around innovation. We're going to lead the future forward. We're going to do it as an open platform, with PayPal World being a great example of we want to bring partners together and do this with incredible partners around the world. But we want to be at the forefront. I would much rather, if you believe that disruption is going to happen, I'd much rather be the disruptor than the one being disrupted.
It's important that you talk about being the disruptor as opposed to being disrupted. And I think that's a dilemma that many CEOs, especially who take on a legacy like you have of a 25-year history of protecting the past while also trying to invent the future. What's been the hardest part of the last 2 years in being able to find that balance of protecting the past but also inventing the future?
They wrote an entire book about it. It is called The Innovator's Dilemma. It is one of the biggest challenges that any established organization faces. And the biggest challenge is you have existing revenue streams. You have existing customer bases. And it's very difficult to think about the future, which may actually disrupt some of those revenue streams. We're a large organization. We'll do over $32 billion in revenue next year. Some of those revenue streams may be areas that actually we need to disrupt, and we need to replace them with what the future may be. Leaning into that disruption, and this is something that whether you're a big company or whether you're a small company, you have to continue to think about what is the customer problem that you're solving. I learned very early on that you must fall in love with the customer problem, not your solution. And the challenge with a large company that has been successful is you start to fall in love with your solution. It's worked in the past. Why not just keep doing it? Well, customers' problems change. Technology changes. Demands change. Think about how much the world has changed in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. 25 years ago, when PayPal was started, the prevalence of smartphones was zero.
Yeah.
It was zero. And now there are smartphones in every pocket. My guess is in this audience alone, many of you have 2 smartphones in your pocket. And so 5 years from now, how many of us will be wearing AI glasses to conduct commerce? And so we have to be able to be thinking about what does the future hold, what is the customer problem we're trying to solve, and how will we disrupt ourselves?
So let's talk about the customer problem that you're hoping to solve today as you transition to a commerce platform. From a consumer's point of view and from a merchant's point of view, what are the priorities that you chase after today?
So one of the things that PayPal was famous for when it started was solving the challenge of a payment. And payments were very difficult 15, 20 years ago. Payments is a problem that it's not easy, but it's been solved. There are many players. We have many competitors that have solved the act of a payment. The challenge that I think has not yet been solved that we are leaning towards now is the end-to-end commerce. And so what does that mean? Well, if you're a consumer, you now have more options to make purchases than you ever have before. You can go online, you can go on your phone, and you can type in almost any set of keywords, or you can open up your agentic app and speak a few words and get dozens and dozens and dozens of options. But how do you know whether it's the right product, whether it's the right price, whether it's from a merchant that you trust? How do you know that your preferences of whether it's a local small business have been captured? So this is all personalization that I think we can lean into that is a part of the commerce journey for a consumer. On the merchant side, how do we enable small businesses to be able to find the right customer for their right next purchase? How do we enable them to leverage the data, leverage the scale of the billions of users that we've now opened up for them in PayPal World to be able to find the right customer in a cost-effective way to be able to continue to sell and grow their business? So these are commerce challenges, not just payment challenges. And for me, that's the future of PayPal.
So initial days, what are the milestones that you're working towards as far as this transformation is concerned in terms of numbers? Where do you believe you're going to be able to hit the milestones that you hope in the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? What's the target for you?
You know, I've learned that you need to have big ambitions for the future, but you need to have KPIs that you hit every quarter. And so without doing our earnings call right here on stage.
Your earnings call is a little while away.
It is, but the quiet period has begun. So without going into everything, look, we are seeing acceleration in customer growth, which is very exciting. So we have KPIs around customer growth, both for our PayPal product as well as our Venmo product, which is very popular in the United States. And soon we'll have KPIs for bringing consumers on for PayPal World as well. We have different product segments. So payment volume is something that we look at. We have a branded experience. If any of you are familiar with the PayPal button, that's a branded experience that we look at. We're seeing buy now, pay later as an acceleration. Yeah. That is particularly in a younger demographic, a big move towards buy now, pay later. So we're seeing acceleration there. And we have these KPIs in every geography that we play in the 200 countries around the world. So this is not a, you can wait for 3 years and hope that it takes off. This is holding our team accountable for the here and now. And I'll give you another example, agentic commerce. Right, agentic commerce is something that we're leaning into. It's a potential disruptor, but it's also something we want to lead in. And so we were the first company with a remote MCP server to allow merchants and consumers to be able to connect and actually open up a catalog for agentic commerce to happen. So we're leaning into the future as we speak.
So let's talk about PayPal's future in India. Of course, you've done this partnership with NPCI and with UPI. The question that I know you're often asked is, why not domestic in India? Is it because it's a competitive market where you're not the first mover by a long shot? Is that what holds you back? I mean, why the decision to not look at the domestic market in India?
Look, we have many markets around the world that we play in.
But it's an important market clearly for you, and even from a talent point of view, it's your second largest employee base.
It's a critical market, which is why I'm on stage with an incredible partnership with NCPI International. Right? I mean, there is a reason that we are here and that Ritesh and I were on stage half an hour ago with UPI as the first wallet. That shows how important the India market is to us and to the entire world. And, India, the way I think about it is it's not just a domestic market. Everywhere I travel around the world, there are remittances where India plays a critical role. There's commerce where India plays a critical role. And we've actually, part of what we establish ourselves with at PayPal is the ability to do cross-border payments and the ability to connect the world together. So I would rather have us spend our time and energy creating those connections across the world and let incredible products that consumers domestically know and love win the market here and enable us to connect them around the world.
But, as an outsider looking at the Indian market and what's happening in the Indian payment space today, what looks most exciting to you? What has surprised you even?
I I think what I just touched on, the cross-border payments, is something that I think has surprised me. Even I just spent the last week and a half traveling through the Middle East, and every location, every conversation I had, India came up as a location where there was just movement of talent, movement of money, commerce opportunities. Whenever I travel through Europe, India comes up, and the same with the United States. And so, India is becoming, if not already here, as an innovator and a leader globally. And that's why it is so important for PayPal to play a role and connect India to the rest of the world.
Well, that does deserve a big round of applause for all of you in this room for what you've been able to achieve in the past decade of really putting India on the global fintech map. Plenty of excitement in this room, lots of young people pitching their ideas. You said that PayPal Ventures is open to looking at exciting ideas, including here in India. Are you actively scouting?
Yeah, we have a PayPal Ventures arm. I don't know if they're in the room, but many years ago, we actually were one of the first investors in Pine Labs, which I know is an incredible solution.
All set to IPO as well.
Which will be wonderful for our PayPal Ventures as well. So, look, this is a market. Our venture arm is really about finding the best and the brightest in emerging markets for us. And we get a lot of, I get to spend a lot of time domestically in the United States with startups, but we want a venture arm that can be out in markets where I'm not necessarily all the time. And so if there are incredible startups and fintech startups in this market, we want to have the conversation.
And I think one of the examples that I want to talk to you about is what you've been able to do with Venmo. And I think that's something that this audience would like to hear about. What's been the biggest learning of being able to crack Venmo, which has been a category creator almost, which has sort of become a verb in many, many ways. What's been the biggest lesson and learning from Venmo? And, could we expect Venmo in India at some point in the future?
Yeah, so Venmo, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, is started as a peer-to-peer payment system in the United States. It's growing incredibly quickly and continues to scale. And I think the unlock for us was really, again, going back to the customer problem. Why were customers using the product? And when you go and you sit and you talk to customers that use Venmo, oftentimes it's them interacting with their friends or family after they've had a shared experience. So an example would be, I go out to lunch with my friends, one of my friends pays the bill, and I Venmo them. Again, it's a verb now. I Venmo them $10 for splitting the meal. So understanding that example allowed us to then work backwards and say, well, if you're using Venmo to split the bill, could you use Venmo to actually create that experience up front? And when you think about it, now you start to open up the ability to make payments online. You open up things like debit cards so that you can actually make the payment in person at the restaurant. And then we have a long roadmap of innovation that is all about the shared experiences that will be coming. So I'm not going to give you the full roadmap right now, including where we may or may not launch Venmo in the future. But right now, if you get to the US, download it. It's an incredible product.
Well, since we're talking about the US, let me also get a pulse check from you on what's happening as far as consumer spending is concerned, not just in the US, but also across the other markets that you operate in. There has been a resilience that we've seen through all the uncertainty and the volatility. The headlines may be screaming different things, but consumer spending has held up. What are the indicators that you're picking up on in terms of consumer preferences, where they're spending, how they're choosing to spend today?
Yeah, so again, there is an incredible amount of noise in the world right now, but consumers are resilient. And it's actually very inspiring to see how consumers manage through and block out the noise. I think the only big shift that I would highlight is something I touched on earlier, which is a shift away from debt and towards buy now, pay later. And again, buy now, pay later is a much shorter term, much lower value ability to spread payments across. And that is actually a sizable shift that we're seeing, particularly in a younger demographic. So it's really away from credit cards as their vehicle for credit and towards buy now, pay later.
Speaking of changes, what we have seen here in India, specifically in the last few years, is there's been some back and forth on regulation, especially when we talk about regulating fintech companies. And I would imagine that we're back to some sort of an equilibrium at this point in time, where companies feel that they can go back out and innovate and try new stuff. How's the regulatory environment in the world today? Because you operate in different jurisdictions across 200 different markets. We've always seen this innovation and regulation balance, but what are you seeing today from a regulator's point of view in enabling inclusion, in pushing fintechs as well? How different is India from many of the other markets that you operate in?
It's complicated. Not India. The regulatory environment globally is complicated because it's just different. And it makes sense. Every region around the world needs to make their own regulatory decisions. There's incredible private-public partnership. Some, they're still moving through it. As a global organization, we have just an amazing set of government relations teams and employees that work to make sure that we can serve what the government need is as well as the consumer need in every part of the world. If I were to just sum it up, though, I do think there is a shift towards ensuring that a global world can exist. I don't see very many countries that are trying to lock down commerce and trying to just keep keep constraints on consumers and merchants. They absolutely want to protect. And money is important, right? I mean, If you think about money, it is the thing that gives consumers and merchants the most anxiety. So it is important to protect it. It also needs to be able to flow. And so we work very hard with regulators to meet their needs, but also push the envelope to help consumers.
So let me end then by asking you about the world that we're living in, cryptos, stable coins. What does all of that mean as far as PayPal is concerned? The US has moved the legislation. We've got the Genius Act now pushing all of these commodities. How do you see a world where PayPal operates with cryptos and stable coins, etc.?
I would just go back to what I said earlier. I think there's going to be more disruption in just the natural state of the financial system over the next 3, 5, 10 years than the last 20 years. Stablecoins, agentic commerce, all of this is going to contribute to that disruption, and we'll be at the forefront. Our job as a leader in this space is to push the innovation, partner with incredible partners like we just did this morning, and continue to write the rules of what the next chapter of fintech will be.
And a last message to India?
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for being incredible partners with PayPal. We are here to stay, and we are here to partner and create an incredible world together. Thank you.
Alex, many, many thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Alex, and congratulations once again to the PayPal team. We wish you the very best of luck with your plans here in India. Thank you very much.